The Infantry Combat Overhaul makeover train for Squad is now in full motion, travelling at Mach Jesus, and OWI is fast catching up with the Fast and Furious series when it comes to sequels. Only, I do feel that OWI is doing a better job as the quality of these are steadily increasing, and it hasn't been made into something completely different from the original outset. This weekend sees playtest number 8, and with that comes a good, healthy sized list of patch notes, changes and fixes. Most of them do seem to be focused around weapon handling and other aspects attached to it. But before we get into this video, here's a very short montage on how the 8th playtest went to help paint a picture. Do a flip. Medic. As you can see, the chaos and carnage of Squad is still here. Only as things get dialed in, it is getting more and more immersive. That being said though, it's far from perfect, and some things still need addressing quite badly. So it's time to crack on into this video, and I'll tell you exactly what I think about this 8th playtest. Before that, don't forget to subscribe for more Squad guides, gameplay and updates. You won't regret it. Now, I'm going to start this video off with what I felt was the most broken part of playtest 7, and that was the Middle Eastern Alliance faction. The already difficult faction to use for the average player basically became the impossible, and the only fights that we saw that involved MEA was fighting to join the enemy team. Now, I am pleased to say that OWI did acknowledge the fact that MEA was woeful, and they have addressed this by making some tweaks to them. They've reduced muzzle climb, reduced misalignment, reduced the free aim zone, and reduced inertia when looking around. And I have to hand it to them. This has been a big step in the right direction. It's not in the sweet spot yet, but it's feeling very close. Their irons are still ruined by the forced perspective blur effect, which I implore they either remove or simply make it a graphical option we can turn on and off by ourselves, because it's making the sights mush. I know we're not supposed to be looking at the rear sight post, but the blur and bloom effect actually interferes with your front post, especially when you have it in the peephole mode. Now, when firing the G3s, especially the iron sight and red dot variants, they behave like it's trying to snap in half with your barrel going left right in a very intense fashion. Maybe just dial that back ever so slightly and that will start being in a really good place. Their standard optic does ADS and steady out very nicely and has a nice return to help with follow-up shots. They've also, from what I can see, reduced the scope glare on it, which makes it even better. All in all, they still very much feel like a stationary nation, which means doing games like Random Advanced and Secure, you have to be quick getting to the second or third objective, and then just go all out on digging in and taking defensive positions. Attacking is still a very hard task to pull off, but ambushing is now possible with these battle rifles. Honestly, playing MEA has gone from being the impossible faction to the very difficult faction, and I'm kind of okay with that. Everyone likes a challenge here and there, and with a few minor tweaks to dial down some of the extremities, Middle Eastern Alliance will be in a very good place. I would still like to see this faction get an overhaul and an update, and give them the HK33 and MP5s on the more close quarter based maps, like Fallujah for example, where they feature heavily, and keep the G3s for the more open maps. It would just inject a good amount of love into Squad's most unloved faction and a little bit of variety. Oh, fuck me.
Wait, was that ours or?
Next up, I want to talk about weapon handling and behaviour. In the patch notes, they mentioned that they have reduced the size of the free aim zone for most rifles to make point fire more useful, and reduced non-ADS recoil by 15%. And you can feel this. This is the first positive step towards a good point fire mechanic, and it really has made an impact. Just the reduction of the free aim zone alone has transformed a lot of the weapon handling, making things feel much tighter in general. And yes, point fire was more useful than it has been in previous builds. The main thing that needs addressing with point fire now, I'd say, is the fact that sometimes your weapon either sticks to the side of the screen, and that sometimes when you start to point fire from any form of movement, your weapon shoots to the side of you, which usually ends up with you team killing your teammates off your left shoulder. Perhaps make it so we can't fire until our weapon is facing somewhat forwards, and to complement this, just make the weapon go back to the center facing forwards a little bit faster to help close that window down. Now, ADS times have also been tweaked, but what hasn't been adjusted is the weapon steady time paired with misalignment, especially when lower than 50% or 75% stamina, or you have done some form of movement. It's still some 5 to 8 seconds, which is an absolute eternity in the first person shooter genre. So dial that back to around 3 to 4 second mark would be much more realistic and generally sensible. When you are full stamina, it is about bang on, but as it is, it still penalizes movement far too much, which in turn penalizes you for attacking, so it does need adjusting. Remember though, iron sights and hollow sights should still be faster than optics to fit within the ethos Squad put forward to it, and keeps them to their strength in close quarters. They still need to remove the blur effect around the picture-in-picture optics, and the transitional one for marksman and sniper kits feels like it's gone back to how it was in Playtest 1, which was one of my biggest causes of headaches for me back then. Well, that's come back. I would still like to either have the option to do a slow controlled walk when clearing buildings or compounds, so I've got more control over my rifle, as base ADS speed, walking feels too fast, or you could simply just reduce the ADS walking speed by about 30 to 50%. This may sound extreme, but when you play games like Ready or Not, it suddenly makes sense. The tweak that they made to the SUSAT does feel very good, but this pistol weapon handling needs to be addressed urgently. It's far too slow to ADS, it's far too slow to steady, and what the hell this movement is, I have no idea, but it makes me feel like I should be in an early 90s hip-hop music video. Anti-tank launches still feel quite slow and wobbly. Now, I know anti-tank will have to change the way that they play, but they feel like they get affected by suppression the most out of all of the kits right now. And that leads me to my next topic, suppression. And it's so close to being perfect, it's tantalizing. It is so incredibly immersive and really does have an effect on you, whether you get shot at by infantry or vehicles, or when grenades, mortars and artillery are thrown at you, it almost renders you completely useless. And all of these effects that stack on top of each other, then mix in with the wall penetration effect, it is an absolute masterpiece. My only two things I have to say on this is it would be great if they added in the black vignette effect that we have in vanilla squad suppression to add in a little bit more tunnel vision when initially getting fired upon. But they also need to fix the blur effect hanging on for ages after being suppressed. At one point, my screen was still fully blurred for 30 seconds after the artillery had finished, and another time my screen stayed blurred for an eternity whilst one person kept randomly popping at the building I was in, and it didn't end until he died. That's all fine and well, but when your screen is fully blurred for the best part of a minute, and you literally cannot look at your screen unless you like getting eye strain and headaches. So the blur roll off for that does need to be much quicker. Mortars is a great example. It rolls off beautifully and smoothly for mortables, so it is doable. And finally, we get back into the thorn in OWI's side, optimization and bugs. I will admit, it was a mixed bag. I didn't have any major hitches or freezes, at least that I noticed, which was a good sign. And some maps' performance felt okay, not good, just okay. But I remember at one point I was only getting 40 FPS at Nava, simply by being just stood there. Picture-in-picture optics did feel clean and smooth, so again, another positive step in the right direction. But this binoculars bug is going to take some explaining, but it also makes me wonder how this slipped the net when one of the patch notes specifically mentions changes to binoculars. There's still some work to be done here, but it did feel marginally better. All in all, Playtest 8 is really starting to feel like the vision that we were promised, and OWI is slowly but surely getting this pushed and shaped into the right direction. There's still a lot of things that need worked on, and I know I've only glossed over a lot of it, but the main thing is, things do feel like they're heading in a good direction, and with some of the changes they've made, you can tell that they have actually been listening and reading our feedback, so keep putting that in, it is important. I was originally planning to make a video slamming Squad for its woeful weapon handling after playtest 7, as I know a lot of people have also been very vocal about this. But after doing this playtest, things do feel a lot better, and it's maybe put that on the back burner for now. What did you enjoy the most about the 8th playtest, and what do you think needs fixing the most? Let me know down in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for more Squad guides, gameplay and updates, and to check out my Squad server, Dead on Dismount. If you are looking for a new place to play Squad in a friendly, teamwork orientated environment with a lot of people who help newer players, then you know where to head on to. We generally seed from around 1800 UK time. I don't know what that is in freedom units, so I'll let you do the maths on that one. Thank you all for watching, take care, and I'll catch you in the next video. Good night.